Welcome back. President Trump's efforts to bring jobs, manufacturing, and investments back to America in full swing. Eli Lilly and Company building a $5 billion manufacturing facility near Richmond, Virginia, boosting production to deliver potent medicines and therapies to battle cancer, autoimmune disease, and more. It's the first of 4 new American drug manufacturing sites planned. It is expected to generate nearly 2,500 high-wage construction and manufacturing jobs. Joining me now in a Fox Business exclusive is the chairman and CEO of Eli Lilly, Dave Ricks, along with Governor Glenn Youngkin. He will be joining us momentarily. Dave, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, big day yesterday in Richmond as we announced this state-of-the-art new facility that we're going to begin constructing immediately there in Richmond, Virginia. And as you said, 2,000 construction jobs, another 600 full-time manufacturing jobs, and really driven by the innovation of our company and the policies that allow us now to repatriate supply chains to the U.S.
Well, this is all part of your $50 billion investment into American innovation, and I want to get your take on specifics in terms of where the jobs will be, what you're going to be manufacturing and building out in Virginia specifically. Dave.
Yeah, that's right. So this is another facility. We're building a new facility as part of our $50 billion capital rollout. There's 3 more announcements we'll be making in the future, so maybe I'll come on and talk about those. It's really exciting. This facility will focus on producing what we call monoclonal antibodies. It's a kind of medicine that is very targeted for cancer, autoimmune, and other conditions, as well as a new, really cutting-edge kind of medicine called antibody-drug conjugate. What is that? It uses the antibody, one type of medicine, attached to another type of medicine, like chemotherapy, to guide that chemotherapy just to cancer cells. And so this way we can have cancer reduction, attacking those cancer cells without all the side effects of chemotherapy. Lilly has a pipeline of these medicines, and we'll be producing them for the world, not just the U.S., but for the world here at the Richmond site in the next few years.
That is just incredible. Look, Dave, we talk all the time about the fact that the U.S. is so reliant on the supply chains coming out of China. And so, you know, this is one step further in a less reliance on China. Can you walk us through why that is, Dave? Why is it that we're so reliant on the underlying components of so many of our prescription drugs from the supply chains in China? Is it significantly more expensive to do it here?
Yeah. It is more expensive to do it here, but, you know, our company is driven by innovation. We're not really focused on the cost or as sensitive to the cost of manufacturing. What really changed years ago was the corporate tax rate in the U.S. went up. We are sensitive to the corporate tax rate, and that drove manufacturing of pharmaceuticals, which are expensive to research and develop, less expensive to make for innovative on-patent ones. So it drove that production to other markets. And really, for Lilly, up until a few years ago, we went about 40 years without building a new plant in the United States. But starting in 2021, 22, 23, we started constructing. Here's another one we're building. We'll be a net exporter out of the U.S. within the next few years. So that whole cycle will have reversed. And the key policy is to have the corporate tax rate low, 21% now passed in the one big beautiful bill. That allows us to have, and it's permanent, the confidence to invest here for the long term and really leverage the power of U.S. workers, which are phenomenal. We chose Richmond and Virginia because the incredible workforce development that they've done down there, both at community college and university level, and technology. This site will be infused with AI, it'll be the most advanced production site we've ever built, maybe the most advanced in the world when it's done.
That is just fantastic. And, you know, thank you for that, because, you know, you just made the case of why policy matters so much, Dave.
Yes,
policy matters so much in terms of the impact on U.S. investors, big corporations putting money in a certain place, America, because of lower tax rates, lower corporate tax rates. Let me bring in the governor. And Governor, thank you so much for being here. Governor Glenn Youngkin joining us. Congratulations to you to get this huge piece of business from Eli Lilly. Talk to us about the impact that's going to have in Virginia, Governor, and the kind of job creation that you would expect.
Yeah, first of all, this is a huge statement for American manufacturing, bringing pharmaceutical manufacturing back to the United States. And as you've just heard from Dave, the reshoring of the active pharmaceutical ingredient stage is critical to our national security. But I also must say it's a huge win for the Commonwealth of Virginia. $5 billion of investment, 650 great jobs, and of course, 1,800 construction jobs. This is a giant win for us. And for every dollar that's invested in this facility, there's going to be $4 of value creation in the overall economy in Virginia. So we are thrilled. We've been working on creating the nation's leading life sciences ecosystem for the last 3.5 years. I have to say that it's winning. And when we win, the nation wins, because these breakthrough cancer treatments will be manufactured in Virginia. They will go to support Americans in a way that needs to be done to support our national security. And I just want to thank Dave for trusting Virginia. But I also want to acknowledge the fact that the president's policies are a huge driver here. Of course, tax policy that you and Dave just discussed, and resetting these trade relationships have really benefited Virginia. We've had $140 billion of commitments from companies during our administration to expand in the Commonwealth of Virginia. That's another 80,000 jobs here. Virginia's got jobs, and we're so excited about what Lilly has done to accelerate an already great economic situation here.
That is just terrific, Governor. And, you know, Dave just mentioned that this facility is going to be infused with AI, and it's going to be technologically advanced, which is, of course, so exciting. Governor, you've been trying to build this life sciences ecosystem, this hub, you know, just the way Silicon Valley tried to be the hub for technology. Can you actually become the hub for life sciences for the country? What else can you do to attract more Eli Lillys like that?
Well, it begins with talent. And as Dave appreciatively acknowledged the fact that we have been focused on building a talent pipeline that's second to none in our community college system and our higher ed, but also in our K through 12, so that we have pharmaceutical manufacturing credentials and graduate degrees right here in Virginia. It's also a hub of research and innovation, and we just launched lab to launch collaboration across all of our R1 universities to make it so easy to get research findings from the benchtop into the marketplace. And then finally, we have invested heavily in site readiness to make sure that when a company like Lilly is ready to come, we have shovel-ready sites, and we can shrink the time frames to go with our massive reduction in regulations in Virginia. We've reduced now 27% of the regulations in Virginia. So if you want to build in America, come build in Virginia. And I've been saying over and over again that made in America does mean made in Virginia.
Yeah, and Dave, talk more about the AI component. I had the opportunity to chat with Mike Milken yesterday at his new Center for Advancing the American Dream, and he was talking about the relationship of AI and healthcare and what is possible today. When you just said a moment ago, Dave, that this facility will be infused with AI, what does that mean on a practical basis?
Yeah, it's a great question. And before I answer that, I just want to thank the governor for his partnership here. You're right that President Trump's policies have really made it possible to reinvest in America. But we chose Virginia because Governor Youngkin really demonstrated the ability to make it happen for us on the ground, that when we win, Virginia will win. And I think that's been a great partnership to get this going. So congrats to him and his team. We're building this plant from the bottom up. It's a brand new plant. And what that means is that rather than have paper-based or even human movement of goods, there'll be lots of robotics, which are, of course, driven by AI. There'll be control systems that monitor the process of making the medicine at every second of every day, and in real time make adjustments to optimize productivity, to improve the safety of the plant, and make sure the medicine is as precisely made as possible. I think one thing Americans don't fully appreciate is the precision by which we need to match what they get from the pharmacy from what we studied in the labs and in the clinical trials. It has to be exactly the same. That's the law. And with AI and technology, we'll be able to dial that in even more, have better yield out of the factory, more productivity, but also a safer working environment where we use robotics and other AI-driven tools to do jobs that are sometimes dangerous in a factory environment for human workers. And this factory will be the most advanced we've ever built in that regard.
That is just terrific. Really, really great news. Dave, while I have you, you've got lots of catalysts at the company right now, and a lot of people want to know details or specifics on efficacy of the oral obesity drug. What can you tell us?
Well, this week in Vienna, there's a European meeting on diabetes and related conditions. We're announcing and rolling out that data. Last night, the New England Journal of Medicine published the first big obesity study, which showed you lose about 11–12% of your body weight on the oral. That's about the same as the injectable GLP-1s. Well, it is the same. And that was the goal of the program for obesity. Today, we'll be announcing data in diabetes, which is also going to be very promising. And we'll be off to the FDA here shortly. We're putting the filing together. Hope to launch that next year in the U.S. And I think the two big benefits here, Maria, is one, some people don't want to inject themselves with a needle, and this is going to be a great option for them. But two, production, as we're talking about factories. And by the way, we're going to make this medicine in America and ship it around the world. We can scale production of an oral medicine a lot faster than these complicated injectable systems, which have to have cold chain. They have to be very precisely filled into that container. Here we can go faster and bigger. And I know everyone wants access to these medications. They want the prices to come down. That requires plentiful production, and we are building that out in the U.S. right now. Actually, the biggest medicine API factory in the history of the United States we're constructing just north of our headquarters in Indiana for that job.
Well, I mean, look, people have seen this part of the business be an incredible boom for earnings. Do you expect the oral version of this GLP drug to be as successful as the injectable, or perhaps even more because of what you just said? People don't want to use the needle. They'll just take a pill.
I think it will be a significant part of the market for two reasons. One, we have the convenience of an oral, but the other is that once people lose weight and get to their goal on the injectables, we know that if they come off, they tend to regain the weight. And those health gains they achieve from managing their overweight and obesity, reduction in diabetes rates, improvement in their cardiovascular risk, those slip away as they regain the weight. And so a very attractive feature of the oral would be to start with the injectable if you really need to come down in weight, and then maintain those gains on the oral. We're conducting that study now. It's not confirmed, but we do plan to announce that study in the coming months. And I think that's a great use case for the oral as well. Start on the injectable, go to the oral, and maintain on that for the long term. And again, we can bring the availability of that, distribute it much more widely, and produce it more abundantly. And I think that's a great setting for the oral GLP-1 as well.
Well, Governor, I mean, look, you've attracted healthcare companies in this life sciences ecosystem because you have focused on growth. You came into the job as a business person and recognized 100% what other business leaders needed to see. And you just mentioned it: training, skill sets, education. What other sectors do you believe you can attract to Virginia in terms of, you know, the kind of excitement that you have been able to create around life sciences?
Well, we identified early on in our administration some high growth sectors with great jobs that would be perfect fits for Virginia, life sciences being top of the list. Of course, we lead the nation in data center and artificial intelligence development, and we are seeing huge investment across that entire sector, along with the supply chain to it. Just yesterday, ABB announced an expansion of their large facility here in Virginia in order to supply power equipment into the data center arena. And we, of course, are winning in the advanced manufacturing sector as well. Everyone from Lego all the way through to those that are supplying our military. So Virginia is growing like crazy. And as I said, with 267,000 more jobs today than when we started, another 200,000 open and available jobs in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and then 80,000 more underpinned by the huge $140 billion of investments that are already coming. Virginia's got jobs, and that's why I think the future of our Commonwealth is underpinned with a very strong economy. That's the job of a governor, and that's why I've been so proud of our administration's work in executing against this plan to grow investment, to grow jobs, and to grow opportunity.
And your job is also to keep the people safe, Governor. What do you want to say about the crime crackdown that has taken place in Washington, D.C., where President Trump is boasting about the fact that the crime is gone? It feels like a safe city once again. What can you say about Virginia?
Well, first of all, I want to thank the president for his swift action in Washington, D.C. That crime-ridden community was spilling over into Northern Virginia. We went to work 3.5 years ago with one basic principle, that more police officers on the street would lead to less crime. And we launched an aggressive Bold Blue Line initiative, and we watched murders go down in Virginia by 30% in 1 year. Our collaboration with the federal government has been extensive since the Trump administration came in, and our Virginia Homeland Security Task Force has seen over 4,000 arrests of illegal criminals who need to go back to where they came from, who are committing violent crimes.
Yeah.
These are drug dealers and gang members. It's been a huge collaboration. Virginia's safer today, and I will say the collaboration with the federal government has been essential to that. And I think the president made a great statement in Washington, D.C., that we can make these cities safe again.
That is terrific. Real quick before you go, Dave, are you expecting a major employer decision on anti-obesity drugs coming in November? I mean, obviously, in November, for the coverage for 2026, we'll likely hear from employers when they send out health benefit signups. And I wonder what that means for your oral as well as the injectable.
Well, we do expect continued expansion of that, both in employers, but also in government. So we are working with states. We're working with the federal government to expand coverage. It's our goal. I think now we know that these medications can have a profound impact, not just on people's lives, but on the cost of healthcare, reducing chronic disease. In fact, an independent group, ICER, which is usually no friend of the pharmaceutical industry, just came out with a report last week demonstrating that at the current pricing, these are highly cost effective, and we expect the pricing will continue to come down over time. So we're excited to continue to expand coverage, and we'll work with anyone to try to do that. As people enroll for benefits this fall, they should look for that in the plan they select. If they're interested in obesity coverage, they can opt in to the plans that do cover them.
All right, gentlemen, great news this morning. Congrats on the partnership. Dave Ricks, Governor Glenn Youngkin, a pleasure to talk with you both, gentlemen. Thank you.